In this weekend, we're going to explore the nature of the relationship between spirituality and the body. The sense of separation between the two of these is something that is so common in our culture in general, but also in spiritual paths and spiritual teachings, that the spiritual dimension, the spiritual realm is considered to be somehow separate in a way that the body is seen as other than a form of spiritual consciousness. One of the things that makes us think that our body is something other than spiritual consciousness is that our body is formed by our history. Our body is formed by experiences in childhood and through our life that create certain patterns of tension that express identities that are basically ego identities. So our body pattern, often when we experience our body, what we're actually feeling is a certain tension pattern that is part of a self that isn't who we learn we are as part of our spiritual journey. So that sometimes then the body becomes sort of the repository of history as well as of suffering, the expression of ego identity, while we have deeper experiences of who we are. And the gap can get bigger the deeper we go. So because in this teaching, we work with those structures, with the ego structures, with the bits of history that have left impressions about who we are, that is other than our beingness. We have the opportunity for those identity structures to also dissolve in our body, so that our body itself then can become an expression of presence, not just an expression of our past. So as we begin to experience the unity of body and our soul consciousness, as some of the barriers to that begin to dissolve, begin to fade away, are understood and metabolized, there is a kind of healing of an inner separation that can occur. Often what I see with people is a sense of love for their body, a love for themselves in their physicality, in their physical form, that actually brings about a kind of rich, new way of being physical in the world. A way of appreciating in a daily basis, in a moment by moment basis, the blessing of being able to reach for a cup and take a drink of water. That is not a separate, or I would say even not a more superficial experience of beingness than we have at times when we're sitting. Our physical life becomes richer. There is a kind of acceptance of the pain as well as the opportunities of our physicality. I think most people are not aware until a certain point in their spiritual path that seeing themselves as being split, physical or spiritual, is actually painful. We so assume that that's the case, that that's just reality, that it's not until we begin to come to a place where that kind of unity becomes possible that we actually recognize that this is an issue. This is not reality. This is an issue. This is something to be explored and understood, that there are potentials here that we really haven't considered. I think that this spiritual path, because we work with ways that we can digest our history, that we do use the body as part of our inquiry, that we can actually metabolize some of the tension patterns that have defined our body, that in this path, there's a potential for a kind of liberation of our flesh, a kind of realm of ways that our body can actually become new in its manifestation of presence as we experience it, that's unique to this path because of the way we work. I also am just moved to say that not everyone is interested in this. Not everyone needs, or maybe it's not part of everyone's soul path to find this integration, to explore what it means for our body to transform as our soul transforms. Because deep realization, deep knowing of presence is absolutely possible without engaging in this level. This is one of the things that's important to me, actually, is that there is a unique opportunity in this path, I think, for a kind of enlightenment of the body, to actually even just consider, what would that be like? What would the enlightenment of the body be like? What does it mean for our body to actually fulfill its design and its potential? Because the enlightenment of the body doesn't really exist in being completely physically fit, or being an Olympic athlete, or being the perfect weight, or being absolutely strong, or even completely healthy. These are kind of fantasies or ideas about what's optimal, or what the fulfillment of the flesh is. In fact, when we really contemplate the nature of the physical form, the human form, and its brilliance as a vehicle expressing the human soul, bringing all kinds of realms of opportunities and capacities to the human soul by the details of its form, we begin to open to the possibility that the fulfillment of the flesh, the fulfillment of physicality, really lies in our body knowing itself as being, in our kind of turning our view of our body to not being an object, but actually being a living form of consciousness that is beingness itself. It's a radical possibility. It doesn't occur by transcending the body. Transcending our physicality is part of the experience of the spiritual journey. But to actually contemplate, what is the fulfillment of the flesh? Sexual, physical, food? Is it about what we consider to be physical things? Yes, those have their own fulfillments, their own satisfactions, their own appropriateness. What we put into our body does matter, but the potential of our body on a path is so much deeper, so much richer. I like to say, we've only begun to touch the possibilities of what physical life can be.